In her past life, when Tang Wan died, Song Jichuan was still accompanying Luo Susu on an expedition in Antarctica. News of the high-ranking official humbling himself for love, devotedly protecting the beautiful scientist for decades, was spreading like wildfire across the internet. Netizens were all abuzz, saying that after seeing everything Secretary Song had done for Professor Luo, they believed in love again. But they didn't know that the love-stricken Secretary Song still had a wife back home, the one he'd left behind. When Tang Wan saw the news and confronted Song Jichuan, all she got in return was a single, dismissive line, "Don't make a scene." In the final moments of her life fading away, Tang Wan felt a lightness she had never known before. She was finally free from it all. If there was a next life, she vowed never to fall in love with Song Jichuan again. 2. Xiao Tang. Hey, Xiao Tang. Snap out of it. Did you hear a single word I just said? Tang Wan's attention was abruptly yanked back to the present, staring at Sister Lin in her military uniform. She was momentarily stunned. When did Sister Lin get so young? Sister Lin from the marriage registration office sighed as she looked at the still-dazed Tang Wan standing there. She repeated what she had just said to her. Xiao Tang, marriage is a two-person affair, even though Captain Song has already signed. The marriage certificate requires both parties to be present. Perhaps you should go back and discuss it with Captain Song, and find a time to come together. Captain Song. Song Jichuan retired from the military and entered politics long ago, didn't he? How can he still be a captain? Tang Wan's consciousness snapped back to reality, glancing up at the office window, the reflection staring back. Wasn't that her younger self? Had she been reborn? The sheer impossibility of rebirth, something far beyond Tang Wan's comprehension, left no room for further conversation with Sister Lin. She simply snatched back the marriage application she'd brought, muttered, "I'll go ask him," and hurried away. Tang Wan suddenly remembered, this was from her past life, the moment she had come alone to submit the marriage application. Back then, Sister Lin had also advised her to discuss it properly with Song Jichuan, but she hadn't listened. She had stubbornly insisted that Sister Lin process the application, and in the end, the matter had even been escalated to Song Jichuan's superior before their marital status was officially recognized. In this life, she was determined never to have anything to do with Song Jichuan again. The moment she realized she had been reborn, Tang Wan swiftly withdrew the marriage application and returned to Song Jichuan's residence. The apartment assigned to Song Jichuan was already decked out with bright red wedding quilts and festive paper cuttings on the windows. Anyone stepping into this home would immediately know it belonged to a couple about to be married. Besides Song Jichuan, there was now Tang Wan herself who thought so. When Tang Wan arrived home, Song Jichuan wasn't back yet, but she wasn't worried. In half an hour, he would return with his junior, the prodigious scientist Luo Susu. And their three-person cohabitation would begin. Having resolved to cut all ties with Song Jichuan in this lifetime, Tang Wan immediately packed her belongings into the storage room upon arriving home. She then carefully tucked away her identification documents and the last 60 yuan she had on her, the foundation of her future independence. After finishing these tasks, Tang Wan retrieved the marriage application form bearing both her and Song Jichuan's names from a file folder. She walked to the kitchen, turned on the gas stove, and watched as the flames slowly consumed the paper. "What are you doing?" Song Jichuan asked. Having returned home and not found Tang Wan in the living room where she usually was, he walked into the kitchen and saw her staring blankly at the gas stove. A strange feeling flickered through his heart, but it was quickly dismissed. Tang Wan saw that Song Jichuan had returned. Using her body to block his line of sight, she turned off the gas stove, swept the ashes from the stovetop into the trash bin with a rag in one swift motion, and then turned back to look at Song Jichuan. "It's nothing, just thinking about what to make for dinner." "All right, come out for a moment. I'd like to introduce you to someone." Tang Wan followed Song Jichuan into the living room, where she saw Luo Susu, dressed in Western-style clothing, fiddling with the unfinished paper-cut character for double happiness in the living room. Seeing them enter, Luo Susu spoke up first. "Senior, this must be your wife. I was just looking at this half-finished double happiness character she's cutting out. She's so skilled with her hands." Before Song Jichuan could even introduce Tang Wan, Luo Susu stepped forward and grabbed her hand. "Sis, Brother Jichuan said he wasn't comfortable with me staying at the military guest house. He mentioned you have a spare room at home I could use. Would you mind?" It was the same naive, innocent tone. Luo Susu had asked the exact same question in her past life. How had she answered back then? She couldn't remember, but it was probably a hysterical refusal. "Sure, I don't mind. Stay as long as you like." Tang Wan withdrew her hand from Luo Susu's grasp and replied indifferently. Seeing Tang Wan's displeased expression, Song Jichuan had thought she would refuse. He was just about to tell her to be reasonable when, to his surprise, she agreed, and with such a cold reaction, then it's settled. Susu will take the guest room, you move into the master bedroom, and I'll sleep on the floor. Song Jichuan believed that since he and Tang Wan were about to get married, moving in together a bit early was no big deal, so he made the decision outright, telling Tang Wan to give up her room. Tang Wan was already planning to move out, so having an extra reason to start packing early suited her just fine. She briskly gathered up the items from the guest room, intending to store them all in the storage room. Just as she was about to toss the wedding quilt from her own room in there as well, Song Jichuan interrupted her. Put the wedding quilt in the master bedroom. There's still space in my closet. The storage room is dusty. It would be a shame to get the quilt dirty. Song Jichuan's words caused both women in the room to pause. Luo Susu was resentful. She had liked Song Jichuan for so long, yet he ended up marrying some country girl. As for Tang Wan, she was utterly indifferent. Where the quilt ended up was none of her concern, since she wouldn't be using it anyway. Song Jichuan took the initiative to carry the wedding quilt into his own room, placing it in the lower cabinet of the wardrobe. He then cleared out half the space in the upper cabinet and said to Tang Wan, "You can put your clothes here." In his memory, Tang Wan's smile never appeared. Instead, she gave a cool nod and said, "There's no rush." Song Jichuan couldn't understand why Tang Wan was different today. He thought it might be because she was displeased he had brought Luo Susu back. Seizing the time while Luo Susu was tidying up the guest room, he prepared to talk to Tang Wan again. "Susu won't be staying long. She's a specialist the military specifically invited, and they'll be assigning her housing soon. Just don't make a fuss in the meantime." As Tang Wan listened to Song Jichuan's same old lecture, she suddenly felt a strong urge to laugh. What on earth was wrong with me in my past life, she wondered, that I could have fallen for someone like Song Jichuan. Ignoring Song Jichuan's lecture, Tang Wan left the room directly and started preparing dinner. A man may be made of iron, but food is the steel that forges him. Even though that scumbag was infuriating, she couldn't let herself go hungry. The three of them finished dinner in silence. After washing up, they each retired to their rooms. Looking at Tang Wan asleep in his bed, Song Jichuan felt a secret thrill, thinking she hadn't smiled at him all day. He wanted to say something, but the moment he opened his mouth, Tang Wan cut him off. "Get some rest. I'm planning to head home tomorrow, and it's a long journey." "Alright, when you're back tomorrow, ask Grandpa to pick an auspicious date, then we'll go get our marriage license." Tang Wan didn't respond. Song Jichuan assumed she was tired and had already fallen asleep. 3. The next day, Tang Wan deliberately slept in to avoid Song Jichuan and the others. Only after they had left did she get up, pack all her belongings into a suitcase, and prepare to take them back to the village. As she was leaving, a neighbor's sister-in-law teased her, asking when she was getting married. Tang Wan brushed off the question and headed straight for the bus stop. After an hour and a half on the bus followed by an hour's walk, Tang Wan finally arrived home. Passing through the village entrance, a few elderly folks asked why she was carrying a suitcase. She simply said it was just something she no longer needed. Tang Wan had returned to the village with two main objectives. First, to break off the engagement with the Song family, and second, to get a certificate from the village committee so she could register for the upcoming college entrance exams. Tang Wan was once the village's brightest hope for university, but ever since she met Song Jichuan, she fell head over heels. Ignoring even the village secretary's well-meaning advice, her heart was set on marrying Song Jichuan, and she didn't want university to force them into a long-distance relationship. Tang Wan found the jade pendants they had exchanged during their engagement at home, tucking them close. She made her way to the Song residence. This marriage was bought with her father's life. When he was young, he had saved old Master Song. After retiring and returning to Tang family village, the old master learned that Tang Wan's father had passed away, leaving her all alone. It was then that he insisted on arranging the marriage with his grandson, Song Jichuan. Citing the debt of a life saved, old Master Song sent her to live near Song Jichuan, saying the two should spend time together to build a proper relationship, and once they had, they could marry. Tang Wan had been by Song Jichuan's side for 2 years, yet he had always been distant toward her, never showing the slightest hint of affection. Just when she had convinced herself there was no future with him, at this year's Lunar New Year family reunion banquet, he unexpectedly and proactively agreed to an engagement with her first. Overwhelmed by the immense surprise, Tang Wan completely failed to notice the other, deeper meaning in Song Jichuan's eyes at that moment. The Song residence wasn't far from her own home. In no time, Tang Wan arrived. She knocked, and the housekeeper caring for old Master Song answered. Recognizing Tang Wan, she immediately welcomed her inside. "Wan Wan, come here." Old Master Song, seeing it was Tang Wan, called her by her childhood nickname and beckoned her to his side. Grandpa. Tang Wan's eyes welled up, including her past life. It had been decades since she'd last seen Grandpa Song. He was the kindest person to her after her own father had passed away. Hearing the tremor in Tang Wan's voice, Old Master Song quickly took her hand and guided her to sit down. Wan, what's wrong? Did Jichuan upset you? Tell your grandpa, and I'll make sure he answers for it. Tang Wan realized her voice had betrayed her emotions and quickly composed herself. No, Grandpa, Song Jichuan hasn't been unkind to me. Old Master Song was taken aback when he heard Tang Wan address his grandson by his full name. A shrewd man, he knew that the change in how she referred to Jichuan meant she must have something significant to discuss with him today. Wan, if Jichuan hasn't upset you, what brings you back so suddenly? Weren't you both busy preparing for the wedding? Have you finished getting everything? Hearing Old Master Song bring up her marriage to Song Jichuan, Tang Wan's hand tightened around the jade pendant in her pocket. Instead of responding directly, she withdrew the engagement token. Grandpa, I want to break off my engagement to Song Jichuan. I don't want to marry him anymore. Old Master Song was taken aback. Although Tang Wan seemed gentle, her temper was just like her father's, stubborn to a fault. Once she made a decision, she would never go back on it. Instead of taking the jade pendant, Old Master Song reached out and gently patted Tang Wan's head, saying in a soft tone, My dear Wan, you've been wronged. If you truly wish to break off the engagement with Jichuan, Grandpa agrees with you, but, Wan, tell Grandpa how Jichuan has mistreated you. I'll teach him a lesson first, and then we can proceed with calling off the engagement. Hearing that Grandpa Song not only didn't blame her but actually supported her decision to break off the engagement, Tang Wan could no longer contain the grievances from both this life and the last. All her pent-up sorrow poured out in a flood of tears. Tang Wan threw herself into Grandpa Song's arms, crying as if to purge all the sorrows of her past life. In the old man's embrace, she wept until her whole body was racked with near-convulsive sobs. The sheer depth of her anguish shocked Grandpa Song. The last time he'd seen her cry like this was when her father passed away. When she'd nearly cried herself unconscious, what on earth had Song Jichuan done to cause her such profound distress? Grandpa Song dared not entertain any further thoughts of persuading Tang Wan. It was clear the girl's heart was truly broken regarding Jichuan. Forcing them together now would only create a bitterly resentful couple. After a good cry, Song Zhu gradually calmed down. When she finally looked up, her eyes were red and swollen. Old Master Song quickly asked Auntie Shui to boil a couple of eggs to help reduce the swelling for Tang Wan. Now that Tang Wan had settled down, Old Master Song finally spoke. Wan, don't you worry, I'll have Auntie Shui fetch Secretary Tang right away. We'll get the marriage contract and have this engagement annulled for you. Seeing that Grandpa Song agreed to her request to break off the engagement without asking any questions, Tang Wan felt another pang of sorrow in her heart. Grandpa, I'm sorry, it's all my fault for being so willful, but I really don't have feelings for Song Jichuan anymore. And I don't know how to love him again. I'm just so tired. Grandpa, Tang Wan kept repeating her apologies to Old Master Song in a disjointed manner, never speaking a single ill word of Song Jichuan, only insisting that her own feelings had changed. Wan, there's no need to apologize. I've said it before, if you can't be my granddaughter-in-law, then be my granddaughter, and since you're my granddaughter, I will support every decision you make. Old Master Song patted Tang Wan's back, comforting her not to feel too guilty, and then continued to ask, Wan, what do you plan to do after the engagement is called off? Grandfather, I want to take the university entrance exam. I want to see the world outside. Tang Wan shared her plans, also hoping to hear Old Master Song's advice. To Old Master Song's surprise, upon hearing Tang Wan's wish to attend university, he immediately expressed his approval, saying, going to university is a wonderful thing. If Wan gets into university, she can finally have a life of her own, that would put this old man's mind at ease about her future. But you haven't studied for 2 years now. Do you think you can still remember all the material you left behind? I have a friend whose son teaches at County First High. When you go back, you should go to him for tutoring. A clever girl like you will surely pick up the textbooks again in no time. Seeing how supportive Grandpa Song was, even going so far as to find her a tutor, Tang Wan was deeply moved. She went on to share her future plans with him, wanting to show that her decision to break off the engagement and aim for university wasn't a rash impulse, but a well-considered path. Aunt Shui, following Old Master Song's earlier instructions, had fetched Secretary Tang from the village. Upon arriving, Secretary Tang immediately noticed Tang Wan's tear-swollen eyes. When Old Master Song announced the cancellation of the marriage arrangement between their families, Secretary Tang wasted no time. He returned to the village office and brought back the marriage contract the two families had signed. Old Master Song tore up the marriage contract in front of them both and took back Tang Wan's jade pendant. With that, Tang Wan had finally severed all ties with Song Jichuan for good. Secretary Tang was fully supportive when he heard Tang Wan wanted to retake the university entrance exams. Without a moment's hesitation, he issued her the necessary student status certificate so she could sit for the exams this year. With both matters settled smoothly, Tang Wan felt a great sense of relief. She decided to stay in the village for a few more days before returning to the county town to rent a place and begin her preparations for the exams in earnest. 3 days later, Tang Wan followed Old Master Song's advice and moved back into Song Jichuan's apartment. For one, it was a military family compound, which was a safer place to live. For another, it was close to the high school teacher Old Master Song had recommended, making it convenient for Tang Wan to attend her tutoring sessions. Old Master Song promised Tang Wan that he would keep their broken engagement a secret for her. He wouldn't let Song Jichuan know about it for the time being. And they would deal with everything after Tang Wan finished her college entrance exams. When Tang Wan returned to Song Jichuan's place, Luo Susu had already moved out. Rumor had it that Song Jichuan had pulled some strings to help Luo Susu secure an apartment ahead of schedule, which was located in the building right next to theirs. Seeing that Luo Susu had moved out, Tang Wan moved back into the secondary bedroom. She then used her own money to buy all the textbooks needed for the college entrance exams and focused all her attention on her exam preparations. Song Jichuan had also noticed that Tang Wan had grown increasingly distant since her return from the village. He wondered if she was upset because the wedding date his grandfather had divined was rather late. During this period, Song Jichuan would bring Tang Wan different little snacks and trinkets each time he returned, trying to cheer her up. Yet Tang Wan showed little interest. Over time, he grew accustomed to her cold demeanor towards him. He had even consulted some married men from his unit about it. They said it was just pre-wedding jitters and that things would settle down after the marriage. Time flew by. Tang Wan buried herself in her studies, having no mind for anything else. She didn't even heed the neighbor's wife's reminder to keep a closer eye on Song Jichuan. What a joke! To Tang Wan, Song Jichuan meant absolutely nothing now. Luo Susu kept finding excuses to get Song Jichuan alone, even growing bolder in her provocations against Tang Wan. Tang Wan simply ignored it all, and so, the three of them maintained this strange equilibrium as they approached Tang Wan's college entrance exams. To ensure her exams went off without a hitch, Tang Wan deliberately told Song Jichuan she had business back in the village and would visit his grandfather while she was there. In reality, she booked a hotel room for a few days. Planning to stay there throughout the exam period, Song Jichuan didn't think much of it. Tang Wan smoothly completed her college entrance exams, and all that was left was to wait for the results. On the very day the exams ended, Tang Wan checked out of the hotel. She couldn't afford to waste her limited funds on lodging. After packing her things, she returned to Song Jichuan's house. Tang Wan arrived just as Song Jichuan was having a gathering with his army buddies. His comrades were lamenting how he was trapped by a debt of gratitude, unable to free himself from a woman they deemed utterly unworthy of him. In the past, Tang Wan would have quietly slipped away, not wanting to intrude, but the Tang Wan of today would never swallow her pride. She pulled the door open and walked right in. The whole group was stunned by Tang Wan's sudden entrance. The man who had just called her unworthy for Song Jichuan flushed bright red. It was his first time being caught bad-mouthing someone to their face. Song Jichuan had the strongest reaction. Seeing Tang Wan push the door open and enter, he suddenly shot to his feet and strode over to her, not even bothering to right the chair he had knocked over in his haste. Xiangzi has no filter when he speaks, don't take it to heart. The first thing Song Jichuan said after taking Tang Wan's wrist was to apologize to her on behalf of his comrade. And what if I do take it to heart? Tang Wan looked coldly at Song Jichuan. Tang Wan, be reasonable. Xiangzi had too much to drink. He's being childish, but you should know better. Exhausted from 2 grueling days of college entrance exams, Tang Wan looked up and met the man's gaze. A sudden wave of profound weariness washed over her. She pulled her wrist free from his grasp and rubbed it. All right, I'll be good, she said. Then, ignoring everyone in the living room, she went straight to the guest bedroom. Song Jichuan was taken aback. He had braced for a storm, but Tang Wan had simply let it go. He stood there, momentarily stunned. It was Luo Susu, who had been quiet the whole time, who finally spoke up. Brother Jichuan, your wife looks exhausted. We shouldn't disturb her any longer. Xiangzi spoke out of turn after drinking, but you know what they say, in wine, there is truth. Please talk to her and ask her not to be angry. Then, like the lady of the house, Luo Susu saw Song Jichuan's comrades out. suggesting they all leave first. Everyone else had left, leaving only Luo Susu in the living room. Since Tang Wan's departure, Song Jichuan had remained frozen in place, his gaze fixed on the guest bedroom door, not uttering a single word. Seeing the profound effect Tang Wan now had on Song Jichuan, Luo Susu bit her lip. She tried to offer a few words of comfort, but not only did he ignore her, he also asked her to leave. Luo Susu left, seething with resentment. The jealousy in her eyes clouded her judgment. She couldn't wait any longer. It was clear Brother Jichuan's heart was leaning toward Tang Wan. If she didn't do something now, there would truly be no chance for her and him. After everyone had left, Song Jichuan sat down on the sofa facing the guest bedroom door. He lit a cigarette and remained motionless for a long time. The way Tang Wan had looked at him today made his heart ache. It was as if she were looking at a complete stranger, with not a trace of the affection she once held for him in her eyes. This had slipped completely out of Song Jichuan's control. The Tang Wan who had gazed at him with such love in her eyes on their engagement day was gone. When had she disappeared? He had no idea. Song Jichuan sat in the living room all night, trying to trace the origin of Tang Wan's change, but he found no answers. It wasn't until the next morning, when Tang Wan emerged from the guest bedroom well rested and refreshed, that she saw the living room floor littered with cigarette butts and Song Jichuan with his eyes bloodshot. Wan, about yesterday, I was wrong. Those things they said weren't what I meant. Seeing Tang Wan step out of the bedroom, Song Jichuan hurried forward to explain once more. Tang Wan took a step back, repelled by the smell of cigarette smoke clinging to Song Jichuan. I told you yesterday. I'm being reasonable and letting it go. You don't have to do this. Song Jichuan knew he reeked of smoke and that Tang Wan disliked it, so he didn't move closer. Instead, he said to her, Wan, I'll ask for leave from the unit today. Tomorrow, let's go submit our marriage application together. The date Grandpa picked is too far off. I want to marry you sooner. Song Jichuan always felt he was on the verge of losing Tang Wan, so he brought up marriage. He thought that by expressing his desire to marry her soon, she would immediately agree and flutter around him like a happy little magpie. The expected scenario did not unfold. Tang Wan remained standing to the side, her gaze cold and distant. I'm afraid this wedding is not going to happen. Before Tang Wan could continue, Song Jichuan cut her off. Wan, don't worry, I'll talk to Grandpa. This is a new China now. We don't need to follow those old superstitions about picking dates anymore. If you're afraid he'll be upset with us, after we get our marriage certificate, I'll personally take you back to apologize to him. Without waiting for Tang Wan to respond, Song Jichuan used the excuse of being late and hurried out. Tang Wan clicked her tongue in annoyance, so now she had managed to extricate herself, and Song Jichuan was the one who got caught up in it. It really proved that saying from netizens decades later, men are just hopeless. 5. Tang Wan thought it over. She was fairly confident about her college entrance exam results and knew she'd get into university. The one thing she was absolutely certain of, however, was that she couldn't have anything more to do with Song Jichuan. After a moment's contemplation, she turned and walked out the door. At the entrance to the military family compound, Tang Wan chatted with a few of the other army wives. With a bashful demeanor, she mentioned that Song Jichuan was in a hurry to marry her, so she was there to ask what documents they needed to bring when registering their marriage. Their conversation was overheard by Luo Susu, who wasn't far away. The moment Luo Susu heard that Song Jichuan was the one pushing to marry Tang Wan, her heart twisted with even greater bitterness, causing her to completely miss the glance Tang Wan cast in her direction. Having successfully passed the message to Luo Susu, Tang Wan now waited for her to make a move, hoping fervently that she wouldn't disappoint. Even though Song Jichuan in this life was different from his past self, Tang Wan had no desire to tie her hard-won new beginning to him once more. Her only hope now was that Luo Susu would stir up enough trouble to make Song Jichuan abandon the idea of marrying her. Luo Susu truly lived up to Tang Wan's expectations. Within days, she had managed to make Song Jichuan drop his plans for marriage, while the wedding was off. Song Jichuan became increasingly attentive towards Tang Wan. He followed her every word, and his reputation as a devoted husband quickly spread throughout the military family compound. Soon, it was time for the college entrance exam results to be announced. Repeating her old trick, Tang Wan used the excuse of returning to her village to go to the announcement location a day early. The next day, after confirming her scores and seeing she was a shoo-in for her desired university, she planned to head straight back and lay her cards on the table with Song Jichuan. To her astonishment upon returning, Luo Susu had delivered a shocker of a surprise. She had actually managed to get Song Jichuan into bed. After checking her results early in the morning, Tang Wan returned to the residential compound. The moment she opened the front door, she caught a whiff of something off in the air. she was no innocent young girl. She knew exactly what that scent meant, without hesitation. She pushed open the master bedroom door. There, two people lay naked in each other's arms, tangled beneath the very wedding quilt she had made herself. The sound of the door opening startled Song Jichuan awake. He saw Tang Wan standing expressionless in the doorway, her eyes fixed on him, and Luo Susu lying in what was once their wedding bed. His face instantly drained of color. Tang Wan gave them one sweeping glance, then turned and walked out of the master bedroom. As Song Jichuan scrambled up, intending to go after her, her icy voice cut through the air. "I'm not leaving, get dressed and come to the living room." Song Jichuan moved quickly. No sooner had Tang Wan taken a seat on the living room sofa than he threw on some clothes and rushed out to join her. "Wan, I can explain. Last night, we had too much to drink. That's the only reason we did that." Song Jichuan frantically tried to explain himself to Tang Wan, hoping for her forgiveness, but after he finished speaking, her face remained utterly blank, devoid of sadness, pain, resentment, or the love he had hoped to see. Tang Wan looked at him as if he were a complete stranger, her tone casual and detached, as if remarking on the pleasant weather. "This isn't the first time, is it? Let me guess, when did you two get together? Was it after you last brought up marriage?" Tang Wan fired off one question after another, not really expecting answers. After asking, she simply fell silent and fixed her gaze on Song Jichuan, looking at this man who had caused her a lifetime of pain in her previous life, and who had almost made her waver in this one. Thank goodness, what a relief. Under Tang Wan's questioning, Song Jichuan hung his head in shame. Then, as if mustering his courage, he knelt before her. Wan, I was wrong. I'm sorry, I'll cut all ties with her, I promise. Can you please forgive me this time?" Luo Susu, having freshened up in the bedroom, came out to see Song Jichuan kneeling before Tang Wan, who remained seated imperiously on the sofa. She immediately rushed to Song Jichuan's side. "Jichuan, get up, we're in love, and you two aren't even married. We've done nothing wrong. She's just using your grandfather's influence to bully you. You don't need to apologize to her." Luo Susu tugged at Song Jichuan's sleeve, trying to pull him to his feet, but when Song Jichuan heard her declare their true love right in front of Tang Wan, he could no longer contain his remorse. He shoved Luo Susu aside and warned her coldly that he had never loved her. Tang Wan watched Song Jichuan and Luo Susu. These two were destined to be the golden couple, the darlings of fate in the future. To see them reduced to this, well, how the tables have turned. "You two. Could you please quiet down and listen to me for a moment?" Song Jichuan was just beginning to feel a flicker of hope that Tang Wan was finally willing to speak to him again, and was even preparing to beg for her forgiveness. He never expected her to deliver a death sentence instead. "Song Jichuan, you are tainted. I don't want anything that's tainted, and I've been meaning to tell you for a long time. Our engagement was called off half a year ago. Consider these past few months of staying here as payment for the 2 years I spent taking care of you. The reason I came back today was to tell you I'm moving out. Running into you two like this was just a coincidence, so don't read too much into it." After finishing with Song Jichuan, Tang Wan then turned her gaze to Luo Susu. "Professor Luo, you're absolutely right. While we have the freedom to choose our partners, we must still have some sense of propriety, after all. In the eyes of the public, Song Jichuan is still my fiancé. When you leave, make sure your clothes are properly arranged. Don't ruin your own future over this." After saying this, Tang Wan stood up to leave. Just as she reached the door, Song Jichuan, finally processing her words, grabbed her arm. "Explain yourself. What do you mean, calling off the engagement? Since when? How come I don't know anything about it?" Tang Wan tried to wrench her arm free, but his grip was too strong. Giving up the struggle, she decided to lay all her cards on the table. "Song Jichuan, you were the one who proposed marriage without even consulting me first, so I don't owe you an explanation for calling it off. If you still don't get it, let me spell it out. I don't love you anymore. I don't want to spend my life with you. I don't want to see you, and I want nothing more to do with you." Tang Wan's temper flared, her voice rising involuntarily. "Weren't you reluctant to marry me too? Otherwise, how could that woman have gotten her foot in the door? How did you like the wedding quilt I embroidered? Comfortable? I can explain everything. Calling off an engagement is a serious matter. Wan, don't make a rash decision you'll regret." Seeing that Song Jichuan still refused to believe she had truly broken off their engagement, Tang Wan let out a cold laugh. "An explanation? Regret? An explanation for how the two of you couldn't stand the loneliness and ended up in bed together? Or an explanation for how you secretly enjoyed having a brilliant scientist obsessed with you? Song Jichuan, you're 28, not 8. You can read the depth in a woman's eyes. You understood Luo Susu's feelings for you. You understood my love for you. and you certainly understood the agony of my insecurity. You must be loving this, aren't you? Two women fighting over you. Are you a little disappointed I didn't make a scene today? If you really want to see me throw down for you, that can be arranged. Having said that, Tangwan took advantage of Song Jichuan's momentary distraction. She wrenched herself free from his grip, stormed back into the room, and slapped Luo Susu hard across the face, 3 times in rapid succession. The 3 slaps left Luo Susu utterly stunned. She couldn't believe Tangwan had dared to lay a hand on her. She had never been treated this way in her life. Those 3 slaps felt so damn good to Tangwan. So this is what netizens mean by taking down the other woman. It's so satisfying. I should have done this sooner. Luo Susu snapped back to reality and let out a piercing scream. Shrieking, she charged towards Tangwan, ready to fight back. Song Jichuan, standing nearby, was momentarily stunned to see Tangwan actually strike. Then, noticing Luo Susu trying to harm Tangwan, he immediately stepped in to block her. Keep your voice down, Ms. Luo. If you keep making a scene, this whole sordid little affair of yours won't stay a secret for long. There was no hiding it anyway. Song Jichuan and Tangwan's voices at the door were so loud, the commotion had already spilled out. The soundproofing in these residential compound apartments was never great to begin with, and with Luo Susu's shrieks on top of it, the whole neighborhood probably knew exactly what was going on. Seizing the moment while Song Jichuan was restraining the hysterical Luo Susu, Tangwan prepared to leave. Song Jichuan, I wish you a long and happy marriage. With that, Tangwan pulled the door open and walked straight out. The neighbors in the hallway saw her emerge, but none dared to approach or speak. They just watched her with a mix of gazes, some pitying, some gloating, and others holding unreadable emotions. Tangwan didn't look back. Stepping out of the residential compound, the midsummer sun bathed her, and a bright future lay ahead. 6. Song Jichuan ultimately couldn't stop Tangwan. After leaving him, she planned to return to the village for a while. First, to wait for her university acceptance letter to arrive there, and second, to spend more time with Grandpa Song. She had chosen a university in Shanghai to study architecture. Shanghai was 1,000 miles from home, and she figured she wouldn't be back for the entire 4 years of university, so she wanted to make the most of this time to fulfill her filial duties. Old Master Song didn't say much when he learned Tangwan had chosen a university in the south. He simply told her to take good care of herself once she was away. During this time, Song Jichuan kept returning to the village to find Tangwan, hoping to win her back, but every time he came, he was either driven off by Old Master Song or scolded away by Secretary Tang. When Song Jichuan came again, he happened to see Secretary Tang delivering the university acceptance letter to Tangwan. Seeing Tangwan holding the bright red letter, with a smile on her face he hadn't seen in a long time, it finally hit him. She had moved on from him, and had done so a while ago. News that Tangwan had been accepted into the top university in Shanghai spread throughout the county. A university student, and from a Shanghai university at that, their county hadn't produced a single university student in years. To honor Tangwan, the county officials specially invited her to give a talk to the students at County No. 1 High School, hoping to inspire them and share some study tips along the way. With the county funding her living and travel expenses for university, Tangwan found it hard to turn down the speaking engagement at the high school. Ever since Song Jichuan learned Tangwan was leaving for university, he stopped coming around. She thought he had finally given up. Just when she thought things had settled down with Song Jichuan, Luo Susu decided to stir up trouble. On the day of the speech, when Tangwan arrived, she discovered that she wasn't the only speaker. Luo Susu was also there. County No. 1 High School had actually invited Luo Susu as well, dressed in a chic Western-style outfit and looking radiant. Luo Susu took the stage. She shared with the students of County No. 1 High School her journey to becoming a scientist and the experiences she had during her assignments abroad. Putting everything else aside, Luo Susu's speech that day was both successful and appropriate. She opened up a different world for the students, introducing them to diverse perspectives. When it was finally Tangwan's turn, she focused solely on practical study advice, how to review efficiently, how to anticipate what examiners are looking for, strategies for predicting test questions, and ways to navigate through academic slumps. With the brilliant Luo Susu having set a high bar, Tangwan's study seminar seemed to fail to capture the students' interest. Just as she was about to put down the microphone and leave the stage, Luo Susu raised her hand. No one knew why Luo Susu suddenly raised her hand to ask a question, but it's generally considered poor form to interrupt such seminars. Then, with a glint of amusement in her eyes, Luo Susu asked Tangwan, "Tangwan, I heard you took a 2-year leave of absence and were even planning to get married. what made you suddenly decide to come back and take the university entrance exams? Are you trying to catch up with your partner? It was no secret in the county town that Tangwan had taken a leave of absence from school to prepare for her wedding. No one would dream of spoiling her happy occasion for anyone else, that is. Except Luo Susu. Ever since the day Tangwan left, Song Jichuan had completely ignored her. Then, hearing that Tangwan had been accepted into a prestigious university, Luo Susu couldn't help but feel bitter. That's why she chose to humiliate Tangwan in front of so many people. Luo Susu's words didn't really affect Tangwan much, however. It presented a perfect opportunity to once again draw a clear line between herself and Song Jichuan. So, she picked up the microphone, thought for a moment, and began to speak. Honestly, when I came back to retake the university entrance exams, there were countless times I wanted to give up, but every time I was on the verge of quitting, I would write a phrase in my notebook: to ordain conscience for heaven and earth, to secure life and fortune for the people, to continue lost teachings for past sages, to establish peace for all future generations. Zhang Zai's 4 sentences from Henku are what drive me forward. But I'm also well aware that I'm not that remarkable, and I wouldn't dare to show off in front of so many excellent teachers here, so I can only share some of my study experiences with everyone. But if Professor Luo insists on a reason, all I can say is that the world is vast and brilliant. I don't want to be confined to one corner of it. I also want to see the things Professor Luo just shared with the students. As for whether I want to make progress together with a partner, my only answer is this: the premise for my highly efficient review is one thing: secure the offer first, then deal with the crush. Also, I'm currently single. Tangwan's line about securing the offer first, then dealing with the crush had the students below roaring with laughter. Even the teachers observing the session greatly admired her speech today. Once you succeed, cut ties with your past love, Song Jichuan murmured from the back row, his gaze full of infatuation as he watched the radiant Tangwan on the podium. He had lost such a wonderful person, and it was all his own doing. 7. After that day, Luo Susu never appeared before Tangwan again. Tangwan spent her last peaceful summer at home before arriving in Shanghai when the new semester began in September. Life in Shanghai was vibrant. A hectic study schedule, new friends, and countless training courses filled Tangwan's days. The only thing that occasionally stirred Tangwan's memories of the past was the regular monthly deposit of 100 yuan. Ever since Song Jichuan had stopped appearing in her life, he had faithfully sent money every month, along with a steady stream of hometown specialties delivered to her university once a month. Even her dorm mates would talk about how Tangwan had such a devoted admirer. Whenever the topic came up, Tangwan would remain aloof and never join in. Over time, everyone understood her stance and stopped mentioning it. The 4 years of university flew by in the blink of an eye. Tangwan excelled academically and was recommended for a master's program at her own university. So, while her roommates were busy preparing for civil service exams or job hunting, she found time to make a trip back home. This trip home was not only to return Song Jichuan's money but also to see Grandpa Song and Secretary Tang one more time. Tangwan was very clear: after completing her master's, she would join a design institute, settle in Shanghai, and would not return to the small county town that had raised her for 20 years. Tangwan returned without alerting anyone. Only after resting at home for a day did she visit Grandpa Song. The old man was startled by her sudden appearance. He affectionately tapped her head, chiding her for staying away for so long. Although Tangwan called every month to report she was safe, she never actually came back. Grandpa Song was aware that Song Jichuan had never gotten over her. To avoid putting Tangwan in an awkward position, he had never asked her to return. Thinking of the trouble Song Jichuan had stirred up over the past 2 months, Grandpa Song sighed inwardly. He didn't let it show, however, and shared a cheerful meal with Tangwan. During this visit, Tangwan also planned to go to the military family compound to formally resign from her leave of absence. Since she likely wouldn't be coming back, it didn't feel right to keep the position reserved for her. 4 years had passed, and yet the residential compound seemed both unchanged and utterly different. With her ID in hand, Tangwan quickly passed through security and entered the compound's office. Sister Lin. Tangwan called out upon seeing Sister Lin was also in the office. Tangwan, what brings you back? Sister Lin looked at Tangwan, whom she hadn't seen in 4 years, and almost didn't recognize her. 4 years of university life had transformed Tangwan's demeanor from the inside out. She now carried a radiant, reborn brilliance. If not for the familiar sound of her voice, Sister Lin wouldn't have dared to believe it was her. Sister Lin, I got into grad school. I'll probably stay in Shanghai and won't be coming back. I just happen to have some free time now. so I came back to take care of a few things. Sister Lin listened to Tang Wan say she wouldn't be returning, and thinking of the messy business Song Jichuan had stirred up, she let out a sigh. Maybe it's for the best you're not coming back. You're doing so well now. There's no need for you to get mixed up in all this. Tang Wan looked at Sister Lin with surprise. Sister Lin knew that after all this time, Tang Wan had likely moved on, so she saw no point in keeping it from her anymore. During Tang Wan's first year of university, Song Jichuan proactively transferred to an elite unit to undertake missions, aiming for a swift promotion and a subsequent posting to the Eastern Theater Command, which was closer to her. After Song Jichuan left, Luo Susu's reputation as a brilliant scientist plummeted, despite having the chance to transfer out. She stubbornly dug in her heels, determined to wait for his return. Song Jichuan returned with honors 6 months ago and used his military merits to secure approval for a transfer. Unbeknownst to him, Luo Susu found out. She then employed some underhanded tactics to rekindle a physical relationship with him. 2 months later, to everyone's surprise, Luo Susu became pregnant. Just as Song Jichuan was on the cusp of finalizing his transfer, she revealed her pregnancy to the political commissar. She demanded that Song Jichuan marry her, threatening otherwise to charge him with rape. The incident created a bad impression within the military. Luo Susu was immediately suspended, and Song Jichuan's transfer was put on hold. Now, Luo Susu pesters Song Jichuan every day, demanding that he marry her. After hearing Sister Lin's gossip, Tang Wan sighed about the twists of fate to get Song Jichuan. Luo Susu really would stop at nothing. Meanwhile, Sister Lin finished processing the paperwork. Tang Wan thanked her, left the office, and headed home. 8. The moment she stepped out of the military compound, she saw Song Jichuan in his uniform, standing at the corner by the gate, a lit cigarette in his hand. Seeing Song Jichuan again, Tang Wan felt nothing but indifference, yet, judging by the way he was positioned, she figured she wouldn't be able to leave today unless she went to him. I heard you're going to be a father. Congratulations, Tang Wan said as she approached. Wan, I was forced into it. Tang Wan gave a casual nod, then reached into her pocket, pulled out a bankbook, and handed it to Song Jichuan. This is all the money you've sent me over the past 4 years. It's all here. Since I ran into you today, I might as well return it. Song Jichuan gave a bitter smile. Wan, is there really nothing else we can talk about? No. Seeing that Song Jichuan didn't take it, Tang Wan simply tossed the bankbook into his arms. Then, thinking back to what Sister Lin had just said, she spoke again. Song Jichuan, the truth is, you don't understand me at all. Sending me money and gifts, you're only moving yourself. You can't move me. Do you remember what I said to you when we got engaged? Song Jichuan was momentarily dazed. Back during the engagement, he had been so impatient. How could he possibly remember what Tang Wan had said? I can tell by your face that you don't remember. I said I would be very, very good to you. That part was for you. But there was another half, a promise to myself. If the day ever came when you stopped loving me, I would leave, clean and without a fuss. But I never said I didn't love you. If I hadn't slept with Luo Susu, would there still be a chance for us? Song Jichuan was desperate to grasp at any shred of hope from Tang Wan's reply. Song Jichuan, if you hadn't slept with Luo Susu, we probably would have gotten married. And then you'd still be doting on your precious junior. Continuing to neglect me, only showing me a flicker of affection when I was on the verge of breaking. You treated me like a dog you were training, grinding down my edges bit by bit, turning me into a madwoman trapped in a failed marriage. That's your specialty, isn't it? No, I would never do that. Perhaps Tang Wan's words were too cold, for Song Jichuan's face twisted in increasing agony. You don't know, Song Jichuan. Secretary Song, was my death in our past life a pretty sight? With a deafening roar in his mind, Song Jichuan felt a sharp pain seize his heart, radiating through his entire body. He doubled over involuntarily, yet still lifted his head to look at Tang Wan, his face deathly pale. Wan, when did you find out? When, in our freshman year, you had someone send me a bouquet of sunflowers. You were there that day, weren't you? My fondness for sunflowers, the you of this life wouldn't know. It's because in our past life, you'd only give them to me after you'd made me angry. Tang Wan recounted in a calm tone how she had discovered the flaw, then let out a malicious laugh. So, Secretary Song, was my corpse beautiful in our past life? By the time you returned, had I already begun to rot, this time? Song Jichuan truly couldn't hold back any longer. A mouthful of blood sprayed from his lips, and he collapsed to the ground. The commotion alerted the sentries on duty nearby. Before they could arrive, Tang Wan uttered her final words. Song Jichuan, whoever loses me forever. In this life, I want to live well, so, I hope today is the last time we ever meet. Then, ignoring Song Jichuan's desperate and pleading gaze, He turned and walked away. Epilogue. After returning to Shanghai, Tang Wan successfully completed her postgraduate studies, then studied abroad for a year on a government scholarship. Upon her return, she became the youngest chief designer at the Shanghai Design Institute. She later participated in Shanghai's reform and development projects, and her career flourished. At work, she met the partner she would spend her life with. She married him, they had children, and lived a happy life together. During that time, she only returned to her hometown for grandfather Song's funeral. Song Jichuan, respecting Tang Wan's wishes, did not come to disturb her. Song Jichuan. Side story. My first life ended the year after Tang Wan's death. I died of a heart attack. Though my heart had always been perfectly healthy before that, it was simply frightened, startled by Tang Wan, who had returned home after a long business trip. After she left, it ached every single night. After Tang Wan left, our affair was posted online by a neighbor, Susu S, and my careers took a major hit, and everyone started calling us a scumbag and a homewrecker. I didn't care. None of it held any interest for me, not power, not even Susu's adoration. It wasn't until a year later, when Susu brought up marriage, that it truly hit me. Tang Wan was really gone, and then I understood. Tang Wan was my oxygen. My heart, starved of its supply, had simply stopped beating on its own. My second life began at 28. Everything was the same, yet everything was different. To win Wan back, I threw myself into every mission without a second thought, desperate to get transferred somewhere closer to her so I could find her and start over. With my memories from my past life, I was confident I could win Wan back. As for that woman, Luo Susu, I was sure I could handle her too, but I still underestimated Luo Susu. She actually drugged me, forced herself on me, and then came to me with a baby bump. Once I found out Susu was pregnant, I knew there was no chance left for Wan and me, so I resigned myself to doing the right thing and taking responsibility for Susu. But to my shock, Susu found the money transfer receipt I had for Wan. In a moment of lost composure, she blurted out the truth about her pregnancy. The child wasn't mine at all. A glimmer of hope dawned once more. On that very same day, I learned Wan had returned. I stood at the military compound gate, watching her approach from a distance, thanking heaven countless times in my heart for granting me another chance. I only realized later that it wasn't my chance at all. It was Wan's. It was her final step in drawing a clear line between us. This time, Wan was exceptional. She got into university on her own merit, completed her bachelor's and master's degrees on scholarship, and even studied abroad. Wan looked absolutely stunning on her wedding day, dressed in a modern wedding gown like an angel. But that angel didn't descend by my side. In this lifetime, I only met Wan once, and she recognized me at a single glance. My Wan is so clever, it's just that she no longer belongs to me. The end. Story 2. On their wedding anniversary, Sorenchen accompanied his first love Amara to watch the fireworks display. Amara posted on her moments to show off. Thank you for remembering our agreement. The accompanying picture shows her and Sorenchen cuddling closely from behind. Then, Sorenchen forwarded this post to his friend's circle, adding a sentence, "Some regrets must always be made up." He knew I would see it and it was a naked provocation. I sneered, took a screenshot of Sorenchen's forwarded post and posted it on my moments. At ing a bunch of acquaintances, Sorenchen, get back here within half an hour. Otherwise, the treasure in the garage will be as gorgeous as the fireworks tonight. Then attached is a photo of me having a candlelight dinner alone. Soon his phone rang. Maeve, what are you crazy about? I tapped the table absent-mindedly. You have 27 minutes and 32 seconds. I had just finished talking to my brother when Sorenchen called. Listening to his angry voice, I remained calm instead. You, don't go too far. I promised Amara a long time ago. This is the agreement we made when we were kids. 27 minutes and 19 seconds. There was silence on the other end of the phone for a few seconds. I'll be right back. About half an hour later, Sorenchen rushed in with a smoky air and the scent of Amara's usual gardenia perfume. He saw me sitting quietly at the dining table, slowly wiping the corners of my mouth with a napkin, his brows subconsciously furrowed, and his tone was filled with impatience at being disturbed by me and habitual perfunctory. Why did you ask me to come back? Didn't I tell you that Amara and I had no interest in listening to his nonsense, so I stood up and walked up to him. On his wrist he was wearing the Patek Philippe watch that I spent nearly 10 million yuan to buy last year. Our initials, CJ, were engraved on the back of the dial. Now it seems like a joke. I raised my hand, took off the watch in his astonished eyes, and threw it hard at his feet. The dial and parts shattered to the ground. Sorenchen's face turned pale instantly and he looked at me in shock and anger. Sorenchen, this is a small reminder for you. Don't forget where you got everything you have now. Maeve, have you had enough of this fucking fuss? Sorenchen's eyes were wide open and he raised his hand as if to hit me. Not enough. I tore off the tablecloth, and the cups, plates, and bowls on the table fell in front of him, looking at him coldly. Did I tell you my brother is coming today? You just want to watch some fireworks with Amara, and you dare not take my brother seriously. Your brother, hasn't he come yet? He choked suddenly, his eyes flickered, and he pretended to be calm. I sneered and looked at him with disdain. Do you think my brother has the time to wait for a piece of junk? His face turned pale and blue, and he didn't dare to fart. My marriage to Sorenchen is a traditional business marriage, with our two families working closely together. After my dad passed away, my brother took my mom overseas. Sorenchen probably felt that no one in the Jian family could control him. At the end of last year, he actually brought his first love Amara home and moved directly into the second bedroom. He thought I didn't know what he was doing outside, but he brought her right under my nose and flirted with my man every day. This is simply shitting on my head. I threw a cup of hot coffee on Sorenchen's face and said, "Throw the garbage out, or I'll burn down the villa and rebuild it." Sorenchen's face was burned and he had to hide outside for more than half a month, and he didn't even attend the family dinner on New Year's Eve. This time too, we fell into a cold war for the next few days. He probably thought I was a pushover and he still didn't learn his lesson this time. At the family dinner at the end of the month, Sorenchen walked in holding Amara's hand. The Chen family's family dinner is an important occasion. As the daughter-in-law of the Chen family and the daughter of the Jian family, I have always been the perfect hostess, but this time, Sorenchen blatantly broke the rules. Amara was wearing a plain white dress and delicate light makeup, looking weak and innocent. Sorenchen's arm affectionately and greeted Mr. and Mrs. Chen sweetly as soon as she entered the door. "Hello, uncle and aunt, sorry to bother you. Soren said that we will have a family dinner today and he insisted on bringing me here to meet the family." She glanced at me provocatively. Chen's father and mother looked embarrassed, and Chen's mother tried to smooth things over. "Amara is here. Sit inside." Amara didn't move. She turned to me and smiled even sweeter. "Maeve, don't be angry. Soren brought me here because he felt sorry for me being alone. Soren and I grew up together, and we have a special bond. My uncle and aunt have always liked me." She hugged Sorenchen's arm tightly, unable to hide the pride in her eyes. Sorenchen glanced at me and said impatiently, "Maeve, Amara is just here for a meal. Don't put on that deadpan face, as if someone owes you something. Don't forget, this is the Chen family, not your Jian family. Put away your big lady temper." I almost laughed out loud. Without my Jian family, your Chen family would still be rolling in the mud. The looks of the uncles and aunts around me kept reminding me that if Amara's father hadn't been in trouble, Sorenchen would have really broken off the engagement and married her. The Chen family thought they had kept the secret well, but how could there be any secrets in this circle? But Sorenchen said I have a spoiled brat temper, and I really do. I picked up the soup bowl in front of me, took a sip, and then slammed it heavily on the mahogany dining table with a clang. In an instant, everyone's eyes were focused on me. I wiped the corner of my mouth and raised my eyes. My gaze did not fall on Amara, but looked directly at Mr. and Mother Chen who were sitting in the main seats. "Dad, Mom, can I ask you something? What is the identity of Miss Bai who appeared at our Chen family banquet? Her appearance here today. Does it mean that the marriage between our Jian family and the Chen family has become less important in your eyes?" Father Chen's face completely sank, and Mother Chen's face also froze. Sorenchen was about to speak to defend Amara, but was interrupted by a lazy voice. "Brother, you are not sensible." Who spoke was Sorenchen's younger brother, Chen Qi. He had a strange personality and we had never interacted with each other. I didn't expect him to speak for me. Chen Qi held the wine glass, glanced at Amara, and a sarcastic smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. TSK, look at how affectionate you and I are. If you don't know, you would think you brought her back specially to get married and find me a new sister-in-law." As soon as these words were spoken, the relatives around began to whisper, and looked at Amara with eyes full of scrutiny and contempt. Amara's face turned pale and blue, her eyes immediately turned red, and she looked at Sorenchen with tears in her eyes. "Enough, Chen Qi, what nonsense are you talking about?" Sorenchen shouted. Chen Qi took a sip of wine slowly. "What nonsense did I say? Who in Jiangqing doesn't know about your affair?" Amara swayed, leaned on Sorenchen and wiped her eyes pitifully. "Maeve, I've always envied you. You're not like me, who has to trouble Soren when my family falls into poverty." She paused and added softly, "If uncle and aunt knew that you are living so well now, they would definitely be relieved, right?" The anger in my heart suddenly exploded. I stood up suddenly, walked to her, and slapped her twice. Amara was stunned. She covered her instantly swollen cheeks and looked at me in disbelief. I looked at her coldly. Who do you think you are? Are you worthy enough to mention my parents? Soren-chan stood up with a look of shock and anger. Maeve, do you dare to move? I turned to him and froze him in place with a look. Amara fell into Soren-chan's arms and cried bitterly. Soren, I didn't mean it. I just care about Maeve. Soren-chan hugged her and glared at me with both heartache and anger. I took out a handkerchief and wiped my hands, then looked at my in-laws sarcastically. Dad, Mom, you saw it too. If Soren-chan and Amara are innocent first loves, then I will accept it even if I pinch my nose. I pointed at them, my tone firm, but they both dared to disgust me so blatantly at the Chen family dinner. I don't think I'm that magnanimous. If she came to the table to eat today, I would leave immediately. The living room was dead silent. Father Chen's face was livid, and his voice was filled with suppressed anger. Maeve, be aware of your identity. Hitting someone is not decent. Of course I remember my identity. I am the Chen family's legitimate daughter-in-law. I met my father-in-law's gaze without fear. Dad, do you think it is respectable for the Chen family to watch your son hugging and kissing other women at a family dinner? At this moment, Amara sobbed. I'm sorry, Uncle and Aunt. Maeve, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have disturbed you. She covered her face, as if she had suffered a great injustice, turned around and rushed out crying. Amara, Soren-chan immediately shouted nervously, glared at me fiercely, then left the table full of relatives and embarrassed parents, and ran out after Amara without looking back. Father Chen was so angry that he was shaking all over. He slammed the table and said, you bastard. Mother Chen also forced a smile and said to me awkwardly, Wan, don't take it to heart, Auhi. I interrupted her calmly, Mom, I'm fine, let's eat, the food is getting cold. Chen Chi opposite me looked at me deeply, and I responded with an indifferent smile. That night, Soren-chan did not come back. After the family dinner ended in a bad mood, Soren-chan moved directly to Amara's place. How do I know? Of course, it's Amara's daily updates of her and Soren-chan's daily love life on her moments. Soren personally cooked a loving breakfast for me. Picture. Working overtime with Soren is hard but very happy. Love. Soren took me to meet a very important client and he said I was his lucky star carrot. In every post, there is always a photo of her looking up at the camera lovingly. Soren-chan even brought her to important business social occasions and let her strut like a hostess. Soren-chan enjoyed the feeling of being in control and embarrassing me. He probably thought that as long as Amara kept putting pressure on me, I would eventually choose to swallow my anger, just like before. For the sake of the dignity of the family marriage and to maintain superficial peace, he doesn't know me well enough, or, he overestimates himself. I was still having a spa in the beauty salon when my best friend Su Xiaoxiao called me. When she heard about this, she was even more upset than I was. Wan, that pair of bastards are getting too aggressive, and you're just going to put up with it. If it's inconvenient for you to do it, tell me, and I'll find someone to break that little bitch's leg. I comforted her. Xiaoxiao, don't be impulsive. I will handle this matter myself. I know my limits. What's your sense of propriety? You're just too tolerant. Su Qing was so disappointed that she said, Gubei has already said that as long as you ask, he can make Zhang's group suffer at any time. Xiaoxiao's husband Gubei was born in Jiangqinggu family. He usually behaves low-key, but he is a person who cannot be underestimated. He loves Xiaoxiao deeply. I naturally knew the weight of her words, so I thanked her with a smile, but I still had to earn back my own face. However, I didn't expect that Xiaoxiao's righteousness would soon push the whole incident into an irreversible situation in a way that I could not imagine. Half a month later, Soren-chan once again attended the charity gala with Amara in a high-profile manner. Amara wore an expensive custom-made dress and held Soren-chan's arm affectionately, looking like the main wife. Su Xiaoxiao and I were also invited to attend. When Su Xiaoxiao saw Amara's smug look, she got so angry that her face turned green. If I hadn't held her back, she would have rushed up on the spot. Wan, look at her behavior. I really want to tear her fake face apart. Su Xiaoxiao stomped her feet in anger. I patted her hands, signaling her to calm down. I had other plans tonight and didn't intend to confront her head-on. However, before I could finish my work, Amara came to me first. I had just finished talking to an old friend and when I turned around, Amara bumped into me. The red wine in her hand happened to spill on her light-colored dress. The next second, her eyes were red, and she looked at me in disbelief and incomparable grievance. Ms. Jiang, I know you don't like me, but how could you push me in public? This skirt. Before I could say anything, she turned to Soren-chan who had a gloomy expression behind her. Soren, don't be angry, Maeve, she might not have done it on purpose. Soren-chan immediately frowned and looked at me with annoyance in his eyes. Maeve, have you had enough of this? Apologize to Amara now. Upon hearing this, Su Xiaoxiao, who had been forbearing, completely exploded. Soren Chen, are you blind? She rushed forward, pushed Amara away, pointed at her and scolded her. It was obviously you who bumped into me and spilled the wine, and you are still pretending to be innocent and framing Wan Wan. Do you have any shame? Amara staggered after being pushed, and immediately fell weakly towards Soren Chen, tears in her eyes. Soren, I didn't. Miss Su, you're still pretending. Su Xiaoxiao didn't give her a chance to continue her performance and raised her hand. Bang. A loud and crisp slap hit Amara's face hard. The whole corner fell silent instantly. Everyone was stunned. Amara covered her face and looked at Su Xiaoxiao in disbelief. Soren Chen was also stunned, and then became furious. Su Xiaoxiao, you dare to hit her. Soren Chen stepped forward and pushed Su Xiaoxiao hard, protecting Amara behind him. Xiaoxiao, I screamed and tried to help her, but it was too late. Su Xiaoxiao was pushed so hard by him that she lost her balance and bumped into the decorative corner next to her with a scream. Well, Su Xiaoxiao groaned in pain, her face turned pale in an instant, and cold sweat broke out on her forehead. Xiaoxiao, how are you? I quickly helped her up, but saw bright red blood flowing down her skirt. My heart sank. Su Xiaoxiao is pregnant. She's just 3 months pregnant and I haven't had time to tell everyone yet. Blood, bleeding. Su Xiaoxiao looked at the blood between her legs, her eyes filled with fear and despair. She grabbed my hand tightly. Wan Wan, my child, my child. The people around also noticed something was wrong and exclamations came one after another. Soren Chen was also stunned by this sudden change. Looking at the bloodstains on the ground, his face turned pale. It wasn't me. I didn't mean it, he muttered, trying to defend himself. Amara was so scared that she hid behind him and didn't dare to make a sound. I raised my head suddenly and stared at him with my red eyes. Su Xiaoxiao was pushed down by Soren Chen just to protect me, the child in her belly, the child she and Gu Bei had been waiting for so long. An indescribable guilt and anger surged in my chest like magma. Soren Chen, I heard myself speak in a hoarse voice. If anything happens to Qingqing and her child, I, Maeve, swear to heaven that I will make you and Amara pay with blood. The ambulance arrived quickly and Su Qing was urgently put on a stretcher. Gu Bei also received the news and rushed over like crazy. When he saw his wife on the stretcher with a pale face and blood on her lower body, his eyes turned red and he almost rushed up to tear Soren Chen to pieces. Soren Chen, fuck your mother. Gu Bei was held tightly by someone like an angry lion. Flashbulbs kept flashing, and reporters swarmed around like flies. The scene was in chaos. I followed the ambulance to the hospital and waited outside the emergency room. Gu Bei paced anxiously outside the emergency room. The child was ultimately lost. Gu Bei slammed his fist on the wall and his eyes like ice knives shot towards Soren Chen, who followed and tried to explain. Soren Chen, I don't care what dirty things happened between you and that woman of yours. Today, you killed my child and hurt my Gu Bei's wife. He approached Soren Chen step by step, and his powerful aura made Soren Chen almost unable to breathe. Gu Bei announced in a low voice, enunciating each word, I've made note of this, the Chen family, and you, Soren Chen, be prepared to bear the wrath of the Gu family. After saying this, he stopped looking at Soren Chen and the frightened Amara, turned back to the ward, and held Su Xiaoxiao's hand tightly. I know that what Gu Bei said is not just talk. And as I looked at my best friend who had lost her child on the hospital bed, the last bit of hesitation and concern I had about Soren Chen completely disappeared. After Gu Bei made those harsh words that day, the Gu group immediately announced the termination of all cooperation with the Chen group and mobilized all its resources to start attacking Chen in business. I had informed my brother long ago and fully cooperated with the Gu family to mobilize the Jiang family's connections in the political and business circles to put pressure on the Chen family. For a time, the Chen group fell into an unprecedented crisis. The stock price plummeted, the cooperation was interrupted, the negative news was overwhelming, and Soren Chen was worried all day long. Amara, the instigator of all this, has disappeared into hiding as if she had evaporated from the face of the earth. I stayed with Su Xiaoxiao in the hospital for a few days, seeing her become increasingly haggard, and seeing Gu Bei struggling to handle company and family affairs. The guilt and anger in my heart grew stronger and stronger. Amara's whereabouts after returning to China from the private detective that I finally breathed a sigh of relief. In the evening, I exchanged places with Gu Bei and returned to the deserted villa. As expected, Soren Chen was there too. He was sitting on the sofa in the living room, the ashtray in front of him full of cigarette butts, his face showing undisguised fatigue and irritability. Seeing me come back, he raised his scarlet eyes and spoke in a tone full of hostility. You still remembered to come back. Was it you who instigated the Gu family? Maeve, do you really want to see me die? I looked at his face and found it so ridiculous. Soren Chen, you make me sick, nausea. He seemed to have heard some big joke, and suddenly stood up and grabbed my chin. Maeve, don't forget who was the one who insisted on marrying me in the first place. If it weren't for your Jiang family, I would have been with Amara a long time ago. You've occupied her position for so many years, and now you want to destroy me. His words struck my ears as clearly as thunder. It turns out that in his heart, I have always been a vicious woman who took over his position and separated him and Amara. When my dad found out about his affair with Amara, he was so angry that he wanted to cancel the engagement. It was Mr. Chen who came personally and assured again and again that the matter would be dealt with cleanly. Not long after, the Jiang family was uprooted for being involved in organized crime, and Amara was quickly sent abroad. Half a month later, Chen's father and mother came to propose marriage with 5% of the Chen family's shares. My father originally wanted me to reject the marriage proposal, but I agreed because of that ridiculous old relationship. After 3 years of marriage, all my efforts and forbearance are still not as important to him as a bitch. I laughed in anger, struggled hard to break free from his grip, and slapped him hard in the face with my backhand. Bang! Sorenchen was stunned. He let go of his hand and looked at me blankly. This slap is for Xiao Xiao. Maeve, how dare you hit me? He looked at me with wild and violent eyes. He kicked me to the ground, leaned over and grabbed my neck, growling ferociously. Do you think I dare not touch you? Su Xiaoxia's child is gone. She deserves it. Who told her to be so ignorant of her own abilities and get involved in our affairs? My eyes widened. I couldn't believe my ears. How could this man say such heartless words? I struggled to break free from him and stood up with my body propped up. There was a smile on my face but my eyes were cold. Soren Chen, what did you just say? Say it again. He was frightened by my look and took a half step back, then became angry and embarrassed. I say she deserves it. It's just right that the child is gone. It won't be a hindrance. Very good. I nodded, turned around, took out the live broadcast equipment that had been turned on a long time ago from the display cabinet next to me, and pointed the camera at him. Sorenchen's pupils suddenly contracted. He looked at the scrolling comments and the rising number of viewers on my phone screen, and his face instantly turned pale as paper. What did you do? I smiled more innocently. Nothing, just broadcasting your heroic act. Maeve, you crazy person, turn it off now. Sorenchen rushed over to grab the phone. I took a step back and began to narrate word by word to the camera. Hello everyone, I'm Maeve. My husband, Soren Chen, the president of Zhang's group, just attacked me because I refused to forgive him for defending the mistress Amara and for causing my good friend Su Xiaoxiao a miscarriage. I lifted up the strands of hair on my forehead, revealing the wound that was bleeding from hitting the floor. He also said that Su Xiaoxiao deserved to have a miscarriage, and that it was just fine that the child was gone, so that it wouldn't get in the way. You're talking nonsense. I didn't. Maeve, you're slandering me. Soren Chen denied it at the top of his lungs, but his panic and fear were clearly revealed through the camera. I looked at him coldly, then thought of something and raised the corner of my mouth sarcastically. Amara, whom Mr. Chen protects so much, seems to be pregnant. The barrage went crazy in an instant. Soren Chen collapsed against the wall, his lips trembling and unable to speak. He probably never imagined that I would expose his ugliest side to the sun in this way. Maeve, you are so cruel. He squeezed out a few words from between his teeth. I pulled the corner of my mouth. Not as good as you. I ignored him after that and calmly announced to the camera, everyone, I'm sorry to let you see such an unbearable scene. My marriage with Mr. Sorenchen ends here. I will leave the subsequent divorce matters to my lawyer. Thank you for your attention. After turning off the live broadcast, I strode out of the villa. Sorenchen was yelling something behind me, but I pretended not to hear it. When I reached the door, I called my brother Jiang Han. Brother, get ready. My voice was calm. Chen's stock price is not far from bottoming out. New. Jiang Han chuckled and sighed. My sister has grown up, but my brother is not happy. A bitter look appeared at the corner of my mouth and tears quietly rolled down my cheeks. Only my brother knows that the first person I fell in love with was Soren Chen. The live broadcast incident continued to ferment, and the next day, the Chen Group's stock price fell to the limit at the opening, and billions evaporated in the blink of an eye. The hotline and special line were flooded with calls, and some shareholders even demanded an emergency board meeting to remove Soren Chen from his position as president. Father Chen was so angry that he almost had a heart attack, and Mother Chen called me several times to beg me to consider the overall situation. Consider the overall situation. Why didn't they consider the overall situation when Soren Chen brought Amara home? After all, it's all their own fault. A smile appeared on my lips. The best is yet to come. I hired a lawyer to file for divorce and froze part of Soren Chen's assets. the evidence of infidelity and domestic violence is solid, and the division of property is in my favor, so naturally the Chen family is unwilling to give up. The divorce case has reached a stalemate. The Chen family used all their connections to delay time and tried their best to restore Chen's reputation. Soren Chen also changed his previous arrogance and stood haggardly at the door of the Jiang family villa with a humble tone. Wan, I was wrong. I will take care of Amara's situation. I will also have her abort the child. As long as you come back, we can start over. I felt sick when I heard him talk about aborting the child so easily. This man is selfish to the core. For his own benefit, he can sacrifice anyone without hesitation, including Bai Yuiguang, whom he once deeply loved, and even his unborn child. No need, I said in a cold tone. I have already signed the divorce agreement, and the division of property will be based on the plan I proposed. If you sign, we can part ways amicably, otherwise, you will only lose more. The Chen family doesn't believe that I am so heartless and still hopes that it will be delayed and everything will be back to normal after the storm passes. I looked at the DNA test report of Amara's baby and Soren Chen in my hand and smiled. In order to restore their reputation, the Jiang family decided to hold a grand business reception at the weekend. Celebrities and partners from all walks of life were invited to show the Jiang group's still solid image and to try to repair Soren Chen's damaged reputation. My brother and I also attended the event out of respect. As soon as I stepped into the banquet hall, I received a lot of surprised, curious and sympathetic looks. Soren Chen's eyes lit up when he saw me, and he came up to grab my hand, but I dodged sideways. The smile on his face froze. And then he led my brother and me to the main table. When Mr. and Mrs. Chen saw us, their expressions looked unnatural, but they immediately smiled and pulled me to their side. I didn't refuse and listened to the ladies chat with a smile on my face, until my phone vibrated slightly. I glanced at the message, stood up and left. A moment later, I walked in through the side employee passage with Amara. The previous pride in her eyes was gone. She stroked her 5-month-old belly and looked at me with hatred on her face. Maeve, you better keep your word. I glanced at her and said calmly, you have no right to ask me. Taking Amara to the main table, the banquet suddenly became quiet for a moment. After a brief silence, there was a greater commotion. Wan, what are you doing? Mother Chen looked at me, feeling nervous. Father Chen also had a gloomy look on his face. Soon Soren Chen came over after hearing the news, and when he saw Amara standing behind me pitifully with a bulging belly, his face changed drastically and he shouted at her, Maeve, what are you going to do to Amara? I looked at him with a half-smile. What can I do to her? Looking at his affectionate expression, it's really ridiculous. A few days ago, he vowed to make Amara abort the baby, so why is he pretending to be a romantic now? He took a step forward, protecting Amara behind him, his eyes fierce. Maeve, I warn you, don't hurt Amara. The fierce light in his eyes was always directed at me. The sneer on my face deepened. At this moment, Amara suddenly broke free from Soren Chen's hand. With a thump, he knelt down in front of me and Soren Chen. The whole place was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. Amara raised her tearful face and grabbed Soren Chen's trouser legs and cried bitterly, Soren, I beg you, please divorce Miss Jiang. I can't live without you. I really can't live without you. I know I shouldn't have ruined your marriage, and I know I'm sorry Miss Jiang, but I really love you too much. I can't lose you. She turned to me and pretended to kowtow. Please, Miss Jiang, please help us. I kowtow to you. The entire banquet hall was in an uproar. Everyone was stunned by the sudden bloody drama. Soren Chen was caught off guard by Amara's action. His face turned pale. He wanted to pull away but didn't dare to. He froze in place, enduring gazes from all directions. The Chen family was completely disgraced after being forced to abdicate in public by the mistress. Chen's father and mother were so angry that they were shaking all over and their faces turned completely black. I walked forward slowly, looking at Amara who was crying her heart out. I said with just the right amount of helplessness, Miss Jiang, why are you doing this? Since you and Soren Chen are so in love, why should I be the bad guy? Soren Chen, whose face was extremely grim, and said calmly, Soren Chen, since Miss Jiang has said so much, in front of so many people, you should also give a clear attitude, right? I paused and added meaningfully, after all, Miss Jiang is in a special situation now. She can't stand too much stimulation. What do you think? Soren Chen's expression changed again and again. He knew that if he didn't go down the paved steps today, what would be waiting for him would be a bigger scandal and immeasurable consequences. Finally, he closed his eyes and squeezed out a few words from between his teeth. Okay, I agree to divorce. As soon as these words were spoken, there was another uproar in the banquet hall. Amara stopped crying, a flash of humiliation and relief in her eyes. And as I looked at Soren-chen's face filled with resentment and humiliation, I felt only a cold sense of satisfaction in my heart. I didn't give them any chance to regret or delay. The next morning, my legal team showed up at Soren-chen's office with a divorce agreement that had been prepared and was extremely favorable to me. I heard that when Soren-chen signed the contract, his expression looked like he had eaten shit. I couldn't help but shake my head. This was just the beginning. Afterwards, the intimate photos of Amara and Zhou Mingkai and the DNA report that was known to everyone were accurately delivered to Jiang's directors and financial reporters through anonymous emails and accidentally leaked documents. The next day, just before Chen convened the board meeting, articles and posts with titles such as "President Chen is cuckolded," "The father of Amara's unborn baby is suspected to be Chen's competitor," and "Chen Group may be involved in a commercial espionage scandal" popped up in major financial media and social platforms. This time, the board of directors kicked Soren-chen out without hesitation. The business empire built by Mr. Chen changed hands. The Chen family was divided up by various major forces and never regained its former glory. You mean Mr. Chen? Guess why Mr. Chen handed the Chen family over to Soren-chen, having lost his power, status, wealth, and fame. Soren-chen seemed to have aged 10 years in an instant. It was not until this moment that he remembered me and everything that my Jiang family had brought him. He found the hotel where I was staying like a lost dog. That day, I had just finished a cross-border video conference and was about to go see Su Xiaoxiao. He stopped me right in the hotel lobby. He looked haggard and disheveled. His former high spirits were gone, and his eyes were bloodshot. I looked at him calmly, as if I were looking at a stranger. "Wan, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong." He suddenly knelt down in front of me with a plop, attracting the attention of everyone in the lobby. "Will you forgive me, please, for the sake of our past relationship, for the sake of our past?" He spoke hoarsely, grabbing my trouser legs. "Please help me. I know you are capable. As long as you help me this time, I will agree to anything you ask for. Can we remarry? I will definitely treat you well in the future." And the looks from all around me made me feel a little uncomfortable, but I didn't walk away immediately. I just looked down at the man kneeling in front of me, looking at his humble appearance, without a trace of emotion in my eyes. "Help you?" I sneered. "Soren-chen, look at you now. Is there anything I can help you with?" His face turned pale instantly, and he wanted to say something else. I spoke word by word, shattering his last wish. "It's too late." I pulled out the trouser leg he was holding, looked into his desperate eyes, and added one last blow. "Just struggle and rot in this quagmire you dug with your own hands." After saying that, I didn't look at him again, turned around, and walked straight to the door. I heard that later he sought help from people everywhere in an attempt to make a comeback, but without the support of the Jiang family, and with his uncles and aunts eyeing him covetously. The old foxes in the business world are all shrewd, so who could let him benefit? Finally, he was reported for illegal fundraising and was given free food and lodging in prison. As for Amara, her end was even more miserable. After the bastard incident was exposed, Soren-chen exploded on the spot and questioned her angrily. Amara simply laid her cards on the table and told the whole story of how the Jiang family was plotted against by old man Chen and how she teamed up with Zhou Mingkai to seek revenge. I noticed something was wrong with the Zhou family a long time ago, and I found out much more than that idiot Soren-chen. In the end, the two of them had a complete falling out. Amara was chased and beaten by Soren-chen, and she fell down the stairs and lost her child. The child's father, Zhou Mingkai, was furious when he found out that he was almost dragged into trouble by Amara. Once the Zhou family made a move, Amara was completely helpless, left with a mountain of debts, and had to leave Jiangqing in disgrace before she even had a chance to finish her confinement. I heard that later on, when she was wandering in another place, she was ambushed by some rich man's ex-wife and her men, who cut her face several times, completely disfiguring her. There was no news of her after that. As soon as I went out and got in the car, Chen Qi came close to me and smiled in my ear. "Sister Wan, you are so heartless." I glanced at him sideways, with a half-smile. There was a flash of panic in Chen Qi's peach blossom eyes. His arms around my shoulders suddenly tightened and he buried his face in the crook of my neck, his voice muffled. He tightened his hands on my shoulders and then buried his head in the crook of my neck. "I was wrong, Sister Wan, you'd better be more ruthless." The smile on my face remained unchanged. I turned my head to look out the window. The street scenes flashed by quickly, and my heart was calm. When we were almost at Gu's house, Chen Qi whispered in my ear, "Sister Wan, can I ask for a status?" I lowered my head and replied to the message without even raising my eyelids. "You know, that's impossible." He was silent for a while, then sighed softly. "I know." The car stopped outside the Gu family villa, but Chen Qi did not get out. I went in with the supplements. Half a year later, Xiao Xiao